Yes, sir.
Okay, I've only been trading about 3 or 4 months now, and I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm ready to do it and get in it. The only dilemma, or well, one of the dilemmas that I'm having is I'm not real familiar with navigating myself through, I guess the MT4 platform. A lot of times y'all do something like, y'all say, well, it's in the group, or we posted it here. Only thing you got to do is go to download it, put it in your indicator folder, whatever. But I'm not used to that. I'm not there yet. So it's a lot of stuff y'all done added that I don't know how to add it. So what do I do to get me to be able to do that?
Okay, so I'm gonna be super transparent. You guys are gonna see my everything, my super messy desktop and everything. Hold on.
One other thing, Mr. Irving, he set up my, everything for me, and I appreciate it. Everything is working fine, but I didn't get like a little small lesson on how to work it though. That was the only thing.
No, I gotcha. It's definitely really important. So you guys are going to see my actual desktop. Yes, it's a mess. No, I'm almost never on this. This is just my spare computer that I only use for trading. So what you guys will see is anytime I download an indicator, I always download it to a folder if I can find it. Sorry, guys. All this stuff was from getting here. There we go, MT4. Like I have its own folder on my desktop, and then I also have this saved to my Google Drive just in case something happens to my computer. I don't have to go hunting for all the indicators. So that's what first and foremost I do. So if I ever downloaded one from the group or from Telegram, and the first thing I'll show you is from Telegram. So let's go to super easy notification. Let's go to files. Now I'm going to make a public fool myself. How do I get there again? I know how. Hold on. Let's see. Files. I click on it. Nope. View channel info. Here we go. 50 files. Okay, so let's say I wanted to download the dashboard, right? So I'm going to click on this. I can right click, and sometimes depending on what device you're on, not on this device, it'll let me download it. Otherwise, I would just literally drag and drop it. If it will let me. There we go. So it'll be right in my kind of my zip folder. This is a special little tool that I have that allows me to download certain things. But either way, it should have saved to my desktop in theory. But now I'm going to take this extra step to move it to my desktop, right? And from there, I would right click. I'm going to copy this file, okay? And that goes for anything, whether you got this from the internet, from like a Google place, and then it's on the bottom of your Google Chrome, no matter where you got it from. Once you download it, you can put it to your desktop, or in my case, I save it to a folder, okay? And then I would simply go to I'm going to go to my VPS for this, only because I don't have any room on those. Let's see, open data folder, okay? This is basic 101. I'm going to go to my MQ4, MQL4, go to indicators, and now since this is actually an EA, pretty sure, so I have to put it in my expert advisors folder. I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to paste it. Wait for it to load. There you go. And now here's the deal. It's not going to show up in my indicator file at all. Let's see, I'm silly. There we go. I have to come over here and I have to refresh. And sometimes I might even have to close out my MT4 and then reopen it. And somebody, I think his name was Chris, was just messaging me about this. Now it's going to be right here. So now it's there, whereas it wasn't there before. So that's kind of just 101. And then in terms of downloading other things, I'm going to come back to this same concept. So if I had, for instance, sent you some indicators, you'd want to download the indicators and put them in your indicator folder first. And don't be silly like me and try to create subfolders, because subfolders actually cause problems. Your best bet is to save the actual indicator to the actual indicator file. Skip the subfolder thing. And then once they're there, okay, and let's for instance say I sent you a template, which is the reason why Pat kind of doesn't do templates, and a lot of companies don't anymore. is because if you don't have the files transferred accurately, your template's not accurate anyways. So then I would go to templates. I'm probably gonna have a ton of them, way too many, but I would simply save my template to here. And then now, as long as the indicators were already downloaded, when I pull up that template that, for instance, I created, you guys can all have access to that. But that only works if you have, for instance, the logos, the indicators, and the EAs all in the proper folders, all refreshed properly prior to pulling up that MT4 for the first time. So before you close all that stuff in the MT4, and then prior to pulling up that template for the first time, you'd want to refresh all of this stuff, okay, to where it was, make sure it was in there properly. And then now when you pull up the template, every EA, every trade manager, every indicator, and the settings, even the colors, for the most part, it's all going to work out perfectly. Does that help a little bit in terms of some basic MT4 stuff?
Yes, it does. And now that this is recorded, I can just play it over and over and over.
Yeah, no.
I get it. Yeah.
And that was kind of quick because, well, for me, obviously that's basic, but for other people, they don't know that. And so, like, there's a lot of stuff you guys don't know. So when you click on this, you can have it show the spread or don't show the spread. I didn't know that for the longest time. It probably seems simple to most of you. And for the people who can't find all their indicators, you can click on show, not their indicators, I'm sorry, who can't find all their symbols, you can click on show all or hide all. And provided you're not in any trades, it will take away all these pairs, and then you can only add pairs you like. Like, so there's a ton of options. And if I were to click on a specific pair, this will even give me a lot more information. Let's see, set symbol, depth of market. It's not depth of specification. There we go. This will also tell me like the swap fees. It's not 100%. You're still going to want to message your broker, but you'll even learn the swap fee, which only happens on some days or with some brokers. And you'll know that some pairs actually pay you when your trade is buying and pay you when your trade is selling on certain days of the week. But you'll never know that if you don't like do your research. You'll also know that sometimes the market closes 5 minutes early or 5 minutes late. As we know, this broker adds that 5 minutes a couple times here and there. So there's like a ton of stuff. One of my favorites, as Irving had me show last night, was you can hit Control Y when so click on your chart. This will put your period separators in, and if I'm on the 4-hour chart, this should still be a week apart. So that's the first, and this is the 5th. That's one trading week, right? If I'm on the 1-hour chart, this is actually a day in between. Let's see, wait for it to upload. So now on the same thing, the period separators are actually a day. So this is my 0-100 hour on MT4 time. This is my 0-100 hour the next day. So that's how those day things work, the day breaks. And then of course this one's a month or 2 weeks or something. Forget, let's find out. 2 weeks, I'm pretty sure. I'm not on the day chart too often. So here, let's find out together. Let's see. So that's the first. Now, that's about a month of trading, a trading month. Is what's in between here. And that's it. So those are just some tips and tricks. Like the rest of them, so a lot of people had some issues with the scrunching. That in terms of like, so when you put an indicator on your chart, these numbers are super, super tiny for some ungodly reason. Now, most of us don't have the right answer as to what corner these indicators go in. For that, you have to kind of plug and play. Or like the spacing on them either. Like there's no guaranteed answer. Sometimes you just have to plug and play. So like if we pull up the bar chart alert, let's pull it up real quick. Indicators. Let's see. Bar alert, edit. So we always want to turn off the pop-ups. It really lags our MT4s. And if you really use pop-ups, you should be using it wisely and create its own MT4 for your notifications that you don't actively trade on. And then you'll still get the pop-ups, or like we can even talk to Miss Deja, who use the If This Then That app, which I love the app. I played with it a long time ago. I never really got good at it. But you can use that app to where it sends you certain messages. and whatever. But if you're going to use alerts, have it on a broker or on a platform that you're not currently trading on, because it lags the platform way too much. So moving beyond that tip and trick, let's see. You'll notice that any EAs, when you have a magic number, this has to be set differently for each pair you have it at, or technically it could be inaccurate. Like, so if you want the most accurate data, your magic number is different per pair. Typically speaking, that's usually how they're written, although I'm not a guru with that. The corner is always different with each indicator, so you have to plug and play. And then like that whole spacing thing is just super crazy to me. We can take a look right now where this is at on our chart. And this is just how I figure it out. I wasn't at all a genius, or I wasn't super schooled in this or anything. See how it moved it down? Let's say I want to move it down a little bit more than that. I want it a little tighter, 10. And let's say I don't want this to show the pips, because this pip counter isn't that accurate anyways. So it says show pips. Let's find that. Turn this to false, because I would use a different pip counter anyways. And boom. Let it refresh. It'll kind of, there we go. So now it's closer down. You guys see that? Well, those are just some things. I mean, there's not a whole bunch to it. When it comes to charting, this is another tip and trick you guys can learn. Actually, I learned it from somebody else in the group. So when you draw a trend line, for example, we used to have that problem where it was like this nightmare of a zigzag thing that you could not control. It was like a hand of a clock and just spun in a circle. But like once you draw it, so here I'll show you, you can turn off this ray feature, and then you can actually draw an actual trend line versus have to control it. Here, I'll show you the difference. So now if I use it, this is what a ray does. It's real hard to like control because it just does this weird thing. And it's a super pain in the butt. But if you right click on it and go to trendline properties, turn off the ray, now you have something more manageable that you can actually shrink and move. So if they're both highlighted, you can right click and hit delete all, which makes it easier for people like me who draw on our charts. And let's see, this chart is kind of busy, so let's go to a more empty chart. That one's not too bad. There we go. Let's go to this one. So insert, let's say I want to insert a box. I'm trying to create supply and demand zones. I'm on a bigger time frame. So we're going to go from half of this, the body of that candle, and where that wick ended.
None of their business. What
didn't you? I hear somebody talking. There's a guy talking. Who's that? Let's see. Manage participants. Mute all. There you go. So whoever that was, I got you muted. I have a question. Dorian, can you go ahead and ask your question? Are you able to talk?
Yes, I can.
All right, awesome. Let me finish showing you guys this box thing, and then you can show me.
Can I give?
No, go ahead.
Can I give a pointer real quick?
Absolutely. If you guys have any pointers, man, you guys should totally be getting those out, because a lot of us, none of us know everything, if we're being honest. Like, I don't know why my box isn't showing up.
Remember how I showed you how to delete the Fibonacci last time?
Oops, somebody's got an echo. But yeah, so show me again. You mean, oh, this Fibonacci? This one, right? Oh, that's right. So if I right click and I go to objects, object list, right? I can click on these. I wonder if I can edit it from here too. And that's why I can't see it. Let's make it white. Edit. Okay, are you still there, Dorian? Draw object as background? No. Huh. Dorian, can you hear me? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, cool. So you mean the go to objects, right? That's another good one too, yeah.
Yeah, that's one way, but can you draw it real quick? Just real quick as an example.
Yeah, how come I can't make my box better than this? It's weird. But maybe you can help me with that. I don't know if that's the background. Okay, so we've got a trend line, right?
Oh no, I'm still talking about the Fibonacci.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Delete. Draw a trend line. Okay.
Okay. You see the red dashed line?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and double click that. And then right click. And you could delete it that way as well.
Not bad. See?
Yeah. And then I'm sorry, for the let's say you have a template and you have your indicators. Like my friend, for some reason his MT4 stopped working, and I had to take it off his computer, and it was a real pain, especially with the information indicator, trying to get everything exactly how it was before. So what I did was I after we got everything on the charts, I went to indicator list, right?
Okay.
Yeah, go right there to indicator list.
Yes, sir.
And then move your pointer down until you get the little, yeah, like that, and then stretch it. And then what you want to do is, if you have a laptop, you want to take a screenshot of that. That way you have a list of all your indicators from before. So you just press the control button, and then at the top of your keyboard, you'll have a series of numbers, F1 to F11, but you'll see, I think at F7 should be picture screen. So you just press control, picture screen. And what that does is it captures the screen for you. And then you open up PowerPoint and you just paste it into PowerPoint and save that.
Well, a lot of computers have a print screen button too, like exclusively for that.
Yes, and then I also make a copy of the template and I save it maybe in the picture folder on the laptop. And then
Wait a minute, you're taking a picture of this template?
Yes.
Watch this. When I open the data folder, okay, and I go to templates,
yep.
Okay, I can take all of these. I'm going to Control A, right? So that selected all of them, okay? I'm going to right click. Well, are you on a Mac right now?
I'm on a Surface Pro 3.
Okay. Well, that's a little different than a traditional tablet, laptop or a Mac. So I'm going to hit copy, and then I'm going to create that folder. So watch this. I'm not going to actually do this, but I will show you. It's like on my MT4 folder. Like I would have a folder with just the templates.
Yep.
So again, provided that all of those templates are exactly where I want them to be, paste. There we go. And some of these aren't going to be coded super well, but then I would make sure this updates all the time, and I save a copy to my Google Drive. So then no matter what happens with this computer, I've got a VPS that has all my information. I've got a Google Drive that has all of my files. So I never again have to go in and recreate templates. That's why I have so many crappy ones and old ones, is because like they never go away.
Yeah, because I opened up, and I recently opened up the AAFX account. I made sure that I did that because it is a tedious task. You don't want
to. So you copy the tablets, right? The templates. You didn't like have to remake them, or did you take a picture? Like, did you copy the actual template?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
And then the question I had was, remember when I mentioned those four currency pairs, the NCAD, the GJ, UCHF, and EA? Can I trade for example, the CAD and the AUD during the New York session, since they're a dollar currency? Even though it's Canadian and Australian, they use the dollar like us.
Okay, so you can trade any pair during any session in general. Oh. Like there's no trade police. Like, no, there's more volatility, but here. And I believe that hardcore. A group I was with really taught that. So here, we're on the 4-hour chart, so let's go to the 1-hour chart just for GP. Here's the reality. This is not an ideal pair. It's NZD CHF. There's no specific pair. But if we go back in history and we drop our little mouse anywhere on this, there's a good chance it made a big move. Let's see, this is the 800 candle, so this is New York. Well, this is not New York, I apologize. This is London, okay? So if I go to another spot, it made a big move. This one is London. Well, London's going to have most of the big moves if we do this, especially in public. But now this one right here is New York, right? And we just look for some more where some of these drops happen. We look for some of these bigger moves for this kind of pair happen. These pairs move all the time. I mean, sure, I think that GBP is more volatile to move heavier in London. I would think almost anything moves heavier in London. But it's only because London has the most money. But either way, this right here is definitely New York. And we can pick any pair. So you said, what was one of the pairs you said?
NCAD, GJ, UCHF, and Australian dollar.
So EA definitely moves a lot during New York. It's one of the heavier traded pairs in New York. But let's just go to this pair. GJ again is the dragon. So New York definitely moves this pair too. But if we just take our mouse and we back test this, and you can go back to 2014 or whatever if you want. But this is New York when this move happened. This is, just scroll around, probably New York when this one happened.
Okay.
So these pairs move at any given time. So we're not going to always have consult. People like to think that, and I believe that too. But like every time it's Asian session, it's not always consolidating. This is JPY pair, granted, but everyone thinks that everything consolidates in Asian session, which isn't always the case. Sometimes you're going to have weird consolidation through Asia, New York, and London. Or sometimes you're going to have it only during London, where just the price was indecisive, and then all of a sudden it broke out, or broke out for Asian session. We like to predict and make these false rules that make us feel like we're having something intelligent to say. But if you pick any pair and then go test it, and you can create the period separators. There was a gentleman who added an indicator to the group that will allow you to do something. It's kind of like this, which is the daybreak one. But it's not. So like you can pick what time this line occurs just so you can test according to a certain time. And you'll see that even at that time, I mean, it'll happen or it doesn't happen. I don't think there's a perfect pair to trade. But of course, US dollar pairs are great during New York, provided they don't have any big news coming out.
Because what I decided to do was basically I decided that I'm going to trade New York session. My health comes first. I'm not going to keep myself awake past midnight. And I'm just going to get up at 5 in the morning, and I'll see what opportunities there are. If there's no opportunities, then I'm not going to make a trade. And I know that it just comes and goes. It's random. That's what I've decided.
And what you live in Eastern time, right?
Pacific.
Oh, you live in Pacific time.
Yeah, because the New York session opens at 2 a.m. I think I have a paper. I wrote it down. For me, it's 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. New York session, and that's Pacific time because it's 8 to 5 p.m. Eastern. So from the time I wake up in the morning, I'll just go ahead and look for opportunities to enter trade. And if there are opportunities, I'll enter. If there's not, then I don't. That's how I see it.
And now I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure your time would be like 6 a.m. Pacific time, right? So what is that? Hold on. No, hold on. Let me think. Let me get a pen and paper. I'll be much better if I write this out. So I've got 5, 9, and 1 is Eastern, right? We've got 3, 7, right? 11, 3, 7, 11 for Mountain. So for Pacific time, you would have 2, 6, and 10. So at 2 p.m. or a.m., so all of these time frames at a.m. or p.m., that would be, let's go with some reasonable ones. So 2 p.m., 6 a.m. your time, 10 a.m., or 10 p.m. I mean, in theory, those are 6 different times where 4-hour candles happen. So going back to the 4-hour chart, which you guys I was super against trading the 4-hour time frame because I love the 1 hour. But let me tell you, it's insane. It's super profitable. It's so easy. It's so much less stress. This is choppy, which I mean, no one had any control over this. This is definitely ugly, and there's nothing you can do about it. But when you're skipping pairs that look like this, I mean, it's super simple. So, for instance, when do you work?
Oh no, I don't.
Okay. So
I'm living.
in theory,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I have savings. I just graduated from college too, so I'm not going back to grad school until I get this completed.
Well, congratulations. Way to go.
Thanks.
Okay, so you have time, freedom, and possibly a little bit of money.
Uh-huh.
So you, in theory, can fund a $100 account a couple of times and grow it to 6 or 7 figures, right?
Yes.
Okay. So picking the time frames you have available without turning into a walking zombie, which is, I'm with you. People who try to do London, more power to them. For me, I have too many responsibilities that require my brain to be functioning. And I can do it. I can hack it for a few weeks, but then by those couple of weeks later, your brain doesn't see things right anymore. There's really not a lot you can do to like fix that. You have to like fix your sleep schedule. So even according to your current times, if you woke up and you caught that 6 a.m., so you kind of took a walk, got some coffee, got a juice or whatever it is you do, and have a moment away from the church, as long as you're in your office or in front of your computer before 6 a.m., you look for setup somewhere around there. You have 3 different time frames you can choose. And let's say you're a bit of a night bird, you were up at 10. You could even check, you could potentially catch 4 to 5 of these 6-hour or these 4-hour candles. 4 to 5, because they're reasonable time frames for you to still get a good night's sleep, depending on whether or not you have plans that night or what you have going on in your life. All you would be doing is saying, okay, does this line up per my rules? And let's go to the triple arrow system. This is kind of what I've been trading a lot of my, well, actually, wait a minute, this one. On the 4-hour, this is what I've been doing mostly because it's just been super simple. Only in the direction with the daily dot. I require my crossover because that's how I get my alert. And then I let it run either into the next daily dot or the next crossover. But either way, let's go to the daily. This is our triple arrow system. Let's go to the 4-hour chart. We're looking for confirmed moves only. If it's not confirmed, it does not count. So for me, according to this setup on this chart, I would have had triple arrows confirmed here because I have 1, 2, 3. Daily dots in the same direction. My ADX was saying buy and momentum is high. Crossover my currency strength, a crossover, and then a break of the 0. So somewhere in this vicinity, which is like 2 or 3 days, give or take, that's a couple of days worth of opportunity to enter this trade. Right?
I think looks like a bullish momentum candle that broke the 50 moving average right there.
Yeah. Either way, so yeah, the break of the 50 right here, and of course we broke resistance. That is a momentum candle. That's a powerful candle. So anywhere in here, this would have went on my watch list, somewhere in this area. Okay, I've got my triple arrows. Things are lining up. Everyone says, well, I can't find trades. They're not ready when I was looking. But here's the deal. Most of us have time to check this a couple times a week if we're being honest. So let's say we saw this big arrow and little arrow. And it's really hard because hindsight's 2020. Well, let's pretend we can't see any of this. We don't even see this little yellow arrow yet. We can see that things are starting to shape up. We have a crossover here. This is our faster entry, right? But you can put this on your sticky note on your desk, and I'm the queen of sticky notes, to say, okay, I'm going to keep my eye on odd cat. Now let's see. This is the 12 o'clock candle. So we would be asleep for this, right?
Yes.
This is the next one. We would be awake for this. But let's say we're not confirmed enough. We don't like it. There's just not enough confirmation. So this is on the 7-11. You have an entire day. This is the next day. This is the next morning where you now have an official crossover of your 8 and 18. You have a stair-step method, which again, I like these stair-steps better than I do the original triples because this is more confirmed. And that's a momentum break of the 50. And you would be up for this. This would be the exact time that you would be checking the charts.
Yeah, because before I joined, I would always set my alarm to go off before the 4th hour. I don't mind doing it that way. And by coincidence, yeah, that happens at 6 a.m. and that would be great because I would be up before 6 a.m. anyways.
Well, this is 6 a.m. Mountain Time, so this is 5 a.m. your time. This
Okay.
is 6 a.m. your time. This big candle. Well, no, we're on the 4-hour chart. But either way, technically, yeah, I'm still right. This next big engulfing candle. This is the time. So this would have started here and closed here because it's a bullish candle. So
Yeah.
this right here is what you would have saw when you checked it. And again, this is still on your watch list. But even if you took a later or an awful entry, you're going to get your average daily range, no problem. This is not a super fast mover, but everything was lining up and you're saying, okay, this is good. Perfect. And look, we can check another time too. So we have triple arrows here. This is an engulfing candle. That would have been enough, even though it didn't break the 50. This would have been enough for me to take it. In fact, I took this one kind of early because of those huge engulfing candles. But either way, let's say we waited till this moment. This is just a demo account. One moment, guys. Can I help you? Can I share some of my mom? Actually, I'm on call. Who's that, funny? Thank you. Love you like a love song. Mwah. That's my little guy wanting to show me this funny video with some kid getting sprayed in the face. That's what it is. So, okay, but anyways, like I was saying, let's see. That's the perk of like working from home, is that that's the real. This right here, this is the 0 o'clock candle, so you would have been able to check this. This is 2 p.m. your time. So maybe you saw this doji, it was a little confusing because that's a sign of reversal. Or maybe you were hoping it retested 50% of this, whatever the case was. This is 2 p.m. your time. This is a reasonable time that you could have been checking the charts. And either way, you had all these candles to say, okay, this is now confirmed. Everything is still lining up. Broke the 0 on the MACD. I'm content with this pulling back. We've got some support, and that's okay. And then it's going to drop. It's totally up to you. And we can do that throughout history. There's going to be lots of setups. This is one pair, not even the perfect pair. That's the 2000 candle, so hopefully we would, 1600 candle would be awake. This is all New York right here. So we can catch this. This is an entire day where somebody can catch this move. And we would have had confirmations that are in the same direction as the triple arrow to catch this move. That's just how I see it, though. Does that help?
Yes, it does.
So do that. Honestly, you'll be amazed at just how easy it is. And you can stack it twice if you want to. Let me delete this. So you can stack it twice, maybe once for half of the ADR, or if you're going for a smaller amount of pips, and you can let one be a runner. You can have one going for the actual ADR, and then one be a runner that you don't get out until the next triple arrows appear, or until the next daily dots appear, your call. Again, you want it to be confirmed. Don't be the silly butt who gets out just because you see one daily dot, and then it pushes through by 100 pips, and you capture profits, which is not wise. So on average, you could easily, by picking just a handful of trades a week, you can let this be this is how I pay my bills account. Like, that's how you pay your bills. I go for 300 to 500 pips a week. You take one loss, you had a couple winners. That's all you need. Super simple, especially if you're trading standards. That's 10 to 20 grand a month.
Okay, can you repeat that word about dot?
Can I repeat what?
You would wait for a second resistance dot to confirm the first one before you exit?
So let's see if we can find a good example. Maybe, maybe not. So sometimes we have this, oil was a good example, but of course it won't be present anymore. We had a daily dot right here. So everyone was saying this was going to go up. But of course it broke. It didn't stay. So just to give you an idea, don't be too overzealous just to get out just because you see one daily dot. Obviously protect your profits, either trim some of your position or move your stop into profit, one or the other, depending on your trading style or preferences. All of it's personal preference. But either way, take this move. This is like one of the slowest movers, but best paying pairs. This is your faster entry. You finally broke and retested. This is your better entry.
Mm-hmm.
So even with this alone, you're going to get your average daily range.
Okay.
Let's see. Now, if this confirms all the way, we can close it. But if not, we're going to keep selling it down.
Okay. Hey, another thing I did when I was doing my analysis, I forgot what pair it was, but I noticed that my stop was 30 pips, right? And when I put on the Fibonacci, because we're going to the upside, I noticed that I think it was the 23.8 from the zero was exactly or roughly around 30 pips. So I thought, okay, that's 1-to-1. But in my mind, I'm thinking, you know what, I would like to capture whatever pips the market's going to give me. So I would put one take profit at 15 pips and then the second at 30. That way, just in case price reverses, at least I got out with 15, you know. Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, that's how I was doing it. Right now, there's not a lot of volatility in the market. So that's why I kind of backed off the stacking it 4 times. And to be transparent, I had the most success with that, but it's also very difficult to manage. It's very difficult. So for instance, if you're in 4 to 5 trades, it's very hard to manage 4 to 5 trades stacked 4 times. Then you have 20 open pairs that you don't know what's what. And then of course, if you have that one runner, now you have 3 or 4 runners in that account, 5 other trades that are stacked 4 times. That's a lot to keep track of. And I think that I was fortunate and blessed enough to have success with that, but trying to teach that and to be duplicatable with that, I kind of got tripped up. So I stopped. I backed off.
Okay.
So just so you know, I mean, is it doable? Absolutely, but it's a lot. All it's going to take is one time to blow your big account. One time where you got sidetracked, got lost, too many pairs, too many positions, over leveraged, over margined. One time is going to be the lesson you need. And trying to teach that to other people, I realized that maybe finding a couple of good trades a week, stack them twice. Twice is enough. Have your heavier lot size going for half of the ADR or the whole ADR, depending on what time frame, and then have your runner. And you can still make a ton of money that way.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Hey, DJ, you were asking a question?
Thank you, Jenny.
You are welcome, Dorian.
Hey, Jenny. So just going off what you were just explaining to the other gentleman, could we go to NZD CAD? And on the 4 hour, it's looking like it's an opportunity to get in a trade right here for itself, doing that same method. Would you consider that one?
Yes, I would. But why? So when all do we see this? So how many confirmations do we have to take this trade?
So I see the triple arrows, I see the daily dots, the 4 hour dots, and then I see that it has another set of 4 hour dots that just formed. I see the ADX is ready, the momentum is going up on the line, your currency, and the MACD just crossed below the 0 line as well. So, I mean, you have everything is saying sell. And then I even checked the hour. It's not as pretty, but everything is confirming. And then on the 15, you have triple arrows as well pointing down.
This looks like a good trade. So there's no major news for these pairs, which is perfect. That makes this the ideal pair. And actually, I do like this because that's an engulfing candle. And what happened? We came back up and retested it. Mm-hmm. That's my signature. That's like not my signature, more accurately. That's the signature. That's the best move you can possibly have because we already retested. We already broke with heavy momentum. And now we retested and we stalled out, proving that we're not going higher. It's, again, nothing's written in stone, but now we've got momentum to the downside. This is probably going to disappear, and odds are it disappeared here. I'm not one of these wicks, but what I do like is this crossover for a pullback, but now it's looking like it's crossing back over below the 0 line. So that makes that super advantageous. Super advantageous.
Okay. All right. Well, looks like I'm about to enter this trade. I am concerned about one thing, though. I know that U.S. has a lot of news coming out tomorrow. And I think you touched on it a little bit. I just can't remember what you said. Did you say that the CAD may be affected by U.S. high impact news?
Well, it depends on what the kind of news is. The CAD, of course, can be affected. With huge news, the U.S. dollar can technically shake every pair. So
right.
News can technically, if we're going direct. So as we know, the euro has some massive amounts of news, like insane amounts. So try to stay out of the euro pairs for the love of God, please just stay out of those. It's not worth it. Someone's about to get their butts handed to them because they wanted to hold on to a trade. And they're going to say, but oh no. So we've got some news. The GDP, this one's a big deal. This one, not as much. This doesn't do as much damage. Not at all.
Okay.
So you have some time. This one doesn't happen until Friday. Anyhow, that news is actually tonight, anyhow, for durable goods. This doesn't typically, or is it tonight? No. This is time left 639 minutes.
I thought it was tomorrow morning.
Yeah, well, so according to MT4 time, it would be the evening time for MT4 time, but yeah, it is tomorrow morning, our time. US time, specifically. 649 minutes until that happens. This will be the bigger news. This will be it. But again, keep in mind, with this much Euro news, that's a lot of Euro news. So don't, for this week, there's only Thursday and Friday left for this week. Don't do your 30% trades or 20% trades with this much news going on, because we already had a for the GBP. Brexit's going on, nothing super horrible. So that's luckily over. But there's just a ton of news. It's not really worth risking for your 30%. I mean, unless you really know that you know that you know, and you've waited an hour after news, then just give it a time. Give it some time. Okay.
So even high impact Euro news can affect all other currency pairs?
Yeah. Well, you gotta think it's all correlated. And I'm sure there are experts who know much better than me, and there's experts who claim to be experts on things they may or may not be experts about. But either way, there's only a handful of markets, I mean big markets more accurately, in the whole world. So when something major happens with this one, of course it's going to cause some shaking over here with the other ones, especially with your US dollar, European, the euro, and then the GBP pound. So especially with those three, I mean, the Swiss, we don't even, until you started trading Forex, you really didn't even hear about the Swiss, right? Other than the Swiss bank accounts, most of us had never even heard about a Swiss franc, if we're being honest. Like, so the Swiss, the Japanese yen, the Australian dollar, the NZD dollar, most of that stuff is insignificant on the big scale of things because their value per whatever, mathematician that they have in their little system isn't even really super significant. The Japanese yen doesn't have an extremely high value. But when stuff happens with the euro, the US dollar, and the GBP, that tends to kind of be significant. It can cause some major shaking with, for instance, Australia, NZD, JPY, and they're super not even related, but they're all currencies. They're all world currencies. So in that aspect alone, I mean, they're correlated. So.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. I appreciate that. I do have more questions, but I'll let other people ask their questions first and I come back.
That's okay. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yesterday you touched on that you had a trade manager, and you said you know how to set alerts up for when price passes a fractal. I was wondering, are both of those EAs? Are they the same thing?
So some of them are EAs and some of them are website related. So they're not necessarily the same thing. So to bring the fractals back on here, let's see. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. I can discuss to you, because I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to give away a couple of trade managers for any coaching clients because I have to make it worthwhile. And Pat had asked if I could kind of do the one-on-one coaching. So having said all that, yeah, I'm going to keep some of those EAs exclusively for coaching clients. Now, in terms of the rest of it, there's a lot of different ways you can set up an alert. So with the way that I do it more accurately, I was trying to think about that. Actually, I thought about you today with the way that your friend does it. I could see how it would work, but how do I create an alert? Because everything looks great when you look back. When you look back, this is a great buy, this is a great buy. You're trading it on the reverse. These are all great buys, but how do I do that? I mean, so to create an alert as an indicator, I'd personally use TradingView, but then you'd have so many false signals, your phone would be blowing up. Because even if you only had 3 or 4 pairs, you'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There'd be a billion trades. Even on the 4-hour, we'll just go to that for example. And let's say you only had a handful of pairs. This one's not so problematic because you only have, what is that? 2, 4, 6 trades in the span of a couple weeks. With this right here, you would get so many alerts that you no longer trust them. So therefore, you're not trading. It's ineffective. I mean, everybody wants the faster system, But fast doesn't mean anything if it's ineffective. Because sure, we can create faster EAs to get faster results and faster entries, but if it's ineffective or increases our loss ratio or decreases our trust in the signal, then essentially they're ineffective. So to create one the way your buddy is using it, I know a lot of other people who trade that way. I personally think it'd be ineffective. But all I'm doing for like these, when it breaks this right here, I'm setting an alert. So when it breaks that price point, I get an alert. And that's an EA. So when it breaks this price point, I get an alert. Same thing over here, I get an alert. And then same thing all the way down. But the way that, in order to do it on the reverse side, the way that you were talking about it, we would need probably to use an indicator alert system or create an alert system, which isn't super hard to do, believe it or not. But either way, it'd kind of be ineffective because you get so many of them that it happens too frequently. Because my alert system isn't based off of per se a fractal, it's based off of price action. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you again, Jenny.
All right, does anybody have any specific questions, comments, or pairs you guys want me to take a look at? Let's see. Staying on the 4-hour chart, staying away from US dollar news. For some reason, I don't have the chat on here today, so you'll have to kind of speak up.
Hey, Jenny, can you hear me?
Hey, who's this?
Hey, this is Mike.
Hi, Mike.
You said something about y'all actually do one-on-one coaching?
Yeah, so I was doing a little bit of coaching in terms of anybody who had signed up with an affiliate link, but then Pat had reached out to me to see if I would do the one-on-one coaching for like the SuperEZ group. So I did agree to do that. Now that I'm more settled, I'm mostly moved into my home. I'm not perfect yet, but it's mostly. I'm going to create a video.
How do I sign up for that?
You could just message me. I'm going to create a video on what specifically I'm going to provide, what it would look like, and all the details and ins and outs. And then I'll have that posted in the group and updated by next week.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
You are welcome. All right, guys. Anybody else have any questions or comments or what may take a look at? So going back up. I'd wait for it to retest here and then sell. Let's see. Kicking through. I hit my pip quota on yesterday. So I kind of quit trading my live accounts and just started playing around because I've gotten much better at my rules to learn how to stop trading, because otherwise I end up giving everything I earned back to the market. So I got better at staying out of it. Let's see. Any questions, comments, or pairs? There was a lot of people who messaged me and I asked them to see if they could get on tonight. This one's moved too far, that's why I wouldn't take this one. It's not enough pips to justify the risk. But probably easily another 10 pips out of it. Skipping all the euro pairs and the USD. Let's see. Okay. Anybody else who has any questions, comments, or pairs or MT4 questions? Chris, are you on here?
Hello, Jenny.
Hey, is this Chris?
I know this is Avery.
Oh, hey, Avery, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Wonderful.
Good. I'm looking at Euro CAD for a buy, and I took the trade on the 15-minute earlier this afternoon. The reason why I took the trade is I saw triple arrows on the 15-minute, and I think I confirmed it on the 30-minute. Just want to see if this was a good trade to take.
Okay, so we're on the 4-hour now. We technically have, we never got the little arrow over here for the buy, and this was definitely moving down, but we have all those wicks. The biggest reason I would say if you're in profit, you need to protect that is because you see all this European news.
Yeah.
So the euro can do whatever it wants. I mean, whatever it wants. And it'll happen in a split second. You won't even know what happened. So let's go down to the 1 hour, see what that's confirmed, telling us it looks in general like it's going to buy, but all euro pairs have been dropping. Everybody and their mama wanted to go buy the euro pairs, but they kept dropping anyways. People lost a lot of money. So you see this engulfing, this bullish, really powerful momentum candle going down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking you're not in profit.
I am not in profit. I just cut the losses and try again later.
So how big of a loss are you? This looks like it's definitely going down. You've got momentum. So euro is one of the weakest. CAD is getting to be one of the strongest. This looks like it's crossing over to continue going down. We're below the 50. And this is what I would kind of call a touch and spread. Where it didn't quite cross over on my EAs, but this is that kind of rejected, if you will. ADX is saying sell momentum is going up hard. So the good chance of it retesting about 50% of this engulfing candle before it drops. It doesn't mean it won't eventually buy, but it's not worth playing as a risk. So just keep your stop loss really, really tight, like super tight. Because this is still a computer system. So for instance, if your stop loss is right here, let's see, that's 16. So give or take 15 pips away from where price currently is now with your spread. If this moves super fast because of one of these news events, it'll move like this. Sorry about my sound effects, but it'll move so fast that like the computer may or not even catch up. So technically your stop loss is here, but price moves so fast it didn't even kick in until here. So the potential of a loss when it comes to news events is higher. That's why most people protect their profits. So just if you're going to hold this trade, if it breaks that fractal, you're done anyways. So if it breaks right here, that's how tight I'd have my stop loss.
Okay.
You're done anyways. But I don't know if did you use a heavy lot size on this?
Not at all. Just a 10-cent lot size because I wasn't really sure about it because it's a heavy consolidation anyway. But it looked kind of good.
No, and a lot of the euro pairs are definitely doing nice pullback, a heavy pullback, like one that's going to make everybody think it's turning around and trend. But do you see this huge drop? This is price like moving down hard. So is it due a nice pullback to like 50%? Yes. Does it mean we're going to get it? No. I mean, we could with this news, but even if it does, it wouldn't be something that we can safely invest in. I don't want to say bet on because I don't want people to, refer trading to betting, but considering investment, would I invest my money, my house, my children's education on this news? Absolutely not, because anything could happen, and we have even genius expert people who know everything about the political world still can't predict it accurately. So too much can happen here.
Got it.
On the 4 hour, you said this is why I would close it now. On the 4 hour, we did come back up, so this is what they would call their healthy pullback, and that's bullish, that's engulfing, that's a big candle. Then we stalled out, and we have new support and resistance. There's not 6 of these yellow dots yet, so this isn't even 1 day of closed confirmation. This may or may not break through. I'm not going to predict because we're not here to predict. We're here to make money off of, the direction it is going, not predict the direction we think it's going to go. But I would close it because we came back up to the 0. It recrossed and is now staying below the 0. Momentum is below the 0. And this news is just too choppy. So personally, does that help?
That helps a lot. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Any other pairs you may look at? Let me check the chat. Pew, pew, I heard that. Hey, Vernis, how are you? Let's see. Me too. I'm not playing with Euro at all. Everyone's making bank on that Euro GBP, though. I got some pips and I left. I don't want to play. At all. Not fun. Let's see. All right, going back to my VPS. Sorry, guys. I have to sharing my entire screen so you guys could see all that. But that's about it. I mean, for something like this, just be safe, be cautious.
Jenny, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
On the currency relative strength indicator, is that in our downloads in the room? I can't find it.
No, ma'am. So this one is kind of a pain. So you'd have to actually get a different version. This was free in Marketplace. It used to be free, go figure. Let's pull it up. Come to this, go to marketplace, and type in, oops, the wrong one. Wait for it to light up. It was free. So I had told people about the group, in the group about it. And of course, the people who got it on the first night, they all got it for free. And then the people who did not get it, by the following week or two, give or take, however long ago it was, then all of a sudden it was $60. So what I did was I referred people to the absolute currency relative strength indicator. It is free. It is the one I used the longest. It's the one that kind of kept me from entering trades wrong. So like I trusted it 100% on the 1 hour. Same concept. When one currency was stronger than the other, I waited till that crossover happened with some gap in between them in order for me to take my triple arrow trade. And it saved me from taking some of these weird trades that maybe just weren't ready. So like my currency strength wouldn't have lined up just yet because we were waiting until the GBP, for instance, was above the 0.0015 or below the negative 0.0015. Similar concept to this specific indicator. We're waiting for preferably it to be above the 60 and below the 40 and have a nice crossover. Not always, but at least bare minimum we want a gap. We want a heavier gap bigger than like 2 lines. So something like this, see?
Mm-hmm.
So let's find out if it's on there. Let's go to favorites. Because it stopped being free. And that's just marketing for you. See, it was this one. And now you have to rent it, but I already got it for free. I mean, that's exactly what the picture looked like. It was a blue box with the colorful symbols. But now, just so you know, you can still get the absolute currency strength indicator. And it does still work well. It's just a little messier and harder to read. But that's the one I used the most anyways. So the one I actually used was this one. So when I first started taking notes and taking like accuracy of exactly what the triple arrow system was doing, I only took trades in the same direction as the 1 hour. And then of course I got better and I only take the trades in the same direction as the 4 hour. And from there I was like, okay, so I was in the 70 to 80s percentage of accuracy. And then I started avoiding the news and I used this. This stopped me from taking trades that weren't ready. So how does it look? It's much messier, unfortunately, but that's the truth. Make it really big. Oopsie. Got it. Make it so big. So like in this one, I only have 2 colors, right? But on this one, you actually have all the currencies. So that's kind of messy and hard to read. But a friend of mine, what we did was we opened a singular tab and we stretched this out to be the entire screen. That's kind of how we viewed it. And then whatever pair you have open, so on this one, if you have Euro open and the US dollar, those 2 lines are going to be thicker. So whatever pair you have open, those are going to be the thickest lines. And what we were waiting for was that nice clean crossover with the space in between them, above and below the 0. And that's kind of how we took it. I mean, sometimes it happened not on the 0, but either way we waited for the space between them. And that stopped us from taking a lot of awful trades. So you can, if you only trade certain currencies, you don't have to have all of them on there. You can disable some currencies, for an example, but you wouldn't really want to do that. So you would drag and drop whatever trade you're actually looking at, and that's going to make these lines thicker. And all you're doing is waiting for that crossover, and you'd preferably have skipped this because you would set another line, and I can show you how to do that at 0.0000000, so 4 zeros and a 1, which is only a mild line right here and right here. And that's all you need, because then you're going to be able to see some spacing and something that's a lot more attractive, such as this. You want something that's a little more attractive than this. You want to avoid taking the signal on accident. But either way, it was just another tool in our arsenal that kind of, I watched some video today that said, okay, trading wasn't just about winning. It's about how to avoid your losses, because for every loss you avoid, you essentially made another win. So all we're doing is looking for a way to increase our winning probability, our winning accuracy, or there's many ways to do that. One of the ways would be to eliminate a loss. If you eliminate one loss for every 10 wins, your accuracy just increased by 10% essentially, depending on other factors, but that's really all we're doing. So this right here, you'll notice lines up quite often with the ADX, but not always. That's one of the reasons why I brought my ADX back, was because of how easily it lines up. And again, I wasn't on my computer, so I wanted something on my phone that would give me enough information. But my ADX lines up quite well with most currency strength indicators. So this one just happens to be my favorite.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You are welcome. Let's see the chat. Hey, Antoinette, let's see. So odd CAD, you placed a sell. You put the stop loss at 91730 and then take profit at 91580. The trade closed because it reached the stop loss and I was in the negative on the trade. I saw the TA indicating a sell. What did I do wrong? The odd CAD is definitely a sell. Yeah, sorry about that, Dorian. But let's take a look real quick. Stay out of gold until after that news. And gold right now is indecisive, guys. I would love to be the genius who knows what gold is doing, but gold has too much going on. Way too much going on. There's so many patterns that are all technically accurate, but right now gold is just at that area of indecisiveness. So, Antoinette, can you talk?
Yes. Can
Awesome.
you hear me?
Yep, yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Hi.
Okay, hi, how are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Okay, so you put your stop loss, you typed it, but can you tell me again, where was your stop loss?
It was at 91730. So was it too close?
Much too close, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So it closed, I'm guessing, when the market opened in this area?
Yes.
And you had your take profit where?
It's at 91580.
Kind of close enough. What method did you use to take this trade?
Well, like I said, I'm new. And so I have the triple arrows and I saw them and I saw that things were moving downward. So I thought that the trend would continue to go down, and that's why I placed the trade.
I agree. So when it broke this previous support, so on my live account, I got in over here when it broke this, and I got in up here on that super big candle. I took it kind of early for other reasons, but so right here, it broke this previous support, was in line with the triple arrows, and we also had our 4-hour triple arrows. Right now we're consolidating, and we're probably going to keep consolidating for a little while, and then it'll go down. You weren't wrong, but I don't know. When did you enter the trade? What did you enter the trade?
It was sometime last night. Does it tell you the time on the phone?
It could, but what price did you enter it at?
I entered at a price of 91678.
So you didn't even have like a 10 pip stop loss?
I didn't?
No, so that's okay. So when I first learned how to trade, guys, I didn't have somebody telling me how to drag and drop it on MT4. I didn't have any of that. How I actually counted pips was I took this number, 0.9167. So I dropped the final digit because it's always the second to last digit. And I would add, let's say if I wanted a 30 pip stop loss, I would add 30 to the 67. So that would be, if I wanted a 30 pip stop loss or if I wanted a 20 pip stop loss. I learned to count pips manually, like with math and a plus sign and a minus sign. So if I wanted to add a 30 pip stop loss, I knew that this had to be 97. So what that would, just to give you an idea, this is a 30 pip stop loss. Do you see where my crosshairs are?
Yes.
So, I mean, I don't know what broker you have, and it's probably fortunate you don't have a super high spread broker, because in some cases, this wouldn't even have been enough to cover the spread.
Okay.
Because you got to think you said 9, 7, 8. So it's marginally up from there.
So when you're taking into account the pips, you also have to take into account the spread that's listed there.
Not just the spread, but there's so many variables, and every broker is different. But yes, at minimum, you need to take account in account the spread at bare minimum. So if you're going for, you saw this on the hour time frame, then your stop loss would be bigger than a trade that you find on the 15-minute time frame. But so should your take profit. Your take profit should also be bigger than what a trade you saw on the 15-minute time frame. So like if you were scalping, that's probably not even a big enough stop loss for a scalp, because it's so tight. Bare minimum, if just naked trading, I would have had my stop loss up here, expecting it to kind of come back and retest this area. So I would have moved more than that, and I probably would have put it here. No counting, no pip, no nothing. Because if it broke this level, then we're making higher highs anyways. So
Okay.
you didn't do anything wrong, and this could come back up. It could play around. But if you're a trader, that's not significant. It's not important. In general, we're looking for this trade to go down. That's what we're looking for.
Okay.
Does that help?
It does. So when you're saying consolidate, does that mean that when you see the trend going sideways?
So this is consolidation. So the market only does three things. It goes up, it goes down, and it consolidates. Okay. So Pat would call this a flat market, a flat top. And they're everywhere in Forex. Some of them are more noticeable than others. This right here is consolidation.
Okay.
I mean, this is an awful candle, but this is still consolidation if you're asking me. This is all kind of choppy because it's not, it looks like it's moving, but it's really not moving far. This is perfect example of consolidation. Like,
And what does
I'm sorry?
what exactly does consolidation mean?
It means exactly how it sounds. So price is consolidating. It's not moving here or there, or there. So to consolidate something is to make it smaller, to lessen the amount of space it's moving in. I'm consolidating and moving into a smaller home. I'm consolidating and moving to a smaller car.
Okay.
An accurate sentence I would use that word in. Oh, consolidating debt. There you go. You would take 100 payments. Sorry, I was trying to think of something as an example. That's all. So you're making all this big movement, all these pips and all this movement that's happening here. You're consolidating it, making it small movements that are happening here.
Got it.
So, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It stings to get stuck in it, especially as a new trader, because it's just an emotional roller coaster, constantly up and down and up and down. But either way, it's not the end of the world. Because if you know and you trust your analysis, your stop loss is big enough, your take profit is worth it, hold it and walk away. You pick your few trades for the week and you walk away, because let's go back. Let's not pick a perfect pair. Let's use this exact pair that we're on. So let's see. We have this right here. Okay. This isn't perfect. We have these wicks. It's very confusing, but we have our triple arrows here. I'll take off the fractals. Please let me click on it, pretty please. There we go. So we're happy with our analysis. We believe this is going up, but now we're kind of consolidating. And for a new person, they entered in, let's say they entered in a little squick. This is the 710. This doesn't even really break out of this area till 712, 713. So this right here is like 2 or 3 days of people literally freaking out. They don't know if they should hold the trade. They don't know if they should close it. They're in the profit and they don't want to lose it. They're losing their minds. But had you held this trade, let's zoom out a little, depending on the lot size you used, when it broke out of here, that's enough to buy a car. This is not a fast mover. Once you guys start trading standards and trading them consistently, I mean, that's the blessing to a higher spread broker, is that you're no longer trading anything less than a standard. And when you get the confidence to do that, so one standard is $10 a pip, and of course there's fees and all other stuff and other variables that are too much to go into detail. But at minimum, this is $10,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
More, you're talking 50,000, 100,000, one pair, one move, one time.
So when you get into a trade like that and it begins to consolidate, just relax and ride it out.
It sounds easy when you say it. It's hard to do. It takes a lot of self-discipline to learn that.
Mm-hmm.
But ride it out. That's the whole concept, is if you can take not a perfect move, not nearly as pretty, you had your confirmations, you've got your triple arrows, everything down here is telling you it's lining up, and you take this trade. You have to sit through, this is the 4th, this is a holiday too, so everyone's got a lot of time to look at the charts. And this is the 5th, a day and a half of thinking, oh my gosh, what if I'm wrong? I've never used a lot size this big. I don't know what to do. Somebody tell me what you think. Then they're going to say, hey, it's running into support. What if it turns around? And people are going to talk you into and out of a lot of things. But if you have your own rules that say, hey, this is selling, you've got enough indicators according to this system and this set of rules that you're going to stick with it. What you're going to have is pull back and a pain in the butt. But now, again, you have enough money to pay off your debt or to do whatever it is you needed to do. One trade, one time, one move.
And just make sure that the stop loss is in a good place.
Yes, ma'am. So the best place, according to this system, is at those yellow dots.
Okay.
You can still, there are some other options. So take some of these Stairmasters, for example. If I had taken this trade, I would not be risking this much unnecessarily. I would put my stop loss here, or if I took this trade, I'd put it here. I'm not going to make my stop loss this big because that's just senseless.
Gotcha.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thank you. Let's see. Dorian said, consolidation is indecision or when the market makers are quietly collecting equity before a breakout. Yeah, true. That is true.
Jenny, question about the Aussie CAD. On the 1 hour, because it's showing the white arrow, would you be at all hesitant to take that trade?
Like I wouldn't enter this at this very moment. Again, this is a demo account, but for instance, it depends on your trading style. So if we were on the 4 hour and if we weren't paying attention to anything else, okay? Wait for that beeping to stop. Sorry, that's on my end. So I'm on the 4 hour. I'm not looking at anything else. I've got daily dots, which are now confirmed. Okay, so one dot can disappear. Yes, the move has already happened. Everyone's so afraid of waiting for this dot to close, but I don't mind because I want the more confirmed, the more confirmed move than the faster move. That's just how I trade. That's my trading style. So you've got confirmed daily dots. So this is the 0 candle. This is the next 0 candle. So we're confirmed going down. So even worst case, if this pulls back up 40 pips, that stinks to be in 40 pips of drawdown. You can always set a sell limit once it kind of comes up here, which minimizes your risk, which is a pending order. You have that option. Or you can set a sell stop. So when it breaks at this moment and breaks out of this, you're going to take the trade. Or you can accept the level of risk and take the trade and write it down. At the end of the day, those are different trading styles. There are advantages and disadvantages to every one of them. And I can talk smack and talk praise about each of them in different ways. But it depends on which one works best for you, your schedule, your emotional tolerance, and about a million other things, right? That's totally up to you. The problem with the whole sell limit thing, I'll tell you what it is. So for instance, if I put a sell limit somewhere in this area, your first concern is, what if price doesn't come back up here and doesn't touch it? Now you've missed out on all the analysis you did in the trade. If you put one here again, your risk is smaller, which in theory sounds great. But what if price never came back up and it just kind of came to here? Again, you took all this time for analysis and you've missed the trade. Hold on, let me shut my office door. Okay. And that's the whole sell limit version, right? The problem with the sell stop is now you have the worst possible entry in terms of stop losses, but you also have the most confirmed one because now we've actually made a lower low, similar to the fractal break, similar to trading in the direction. So it's probably one of the safest ones, but it's one of the biggest stop losses. So that kind of stinks. The biggest stop loss is a big deal. And of course, the problem with taking it right here is you're unconfirmed, you're stuck in consolidation, you have a pretty big stop loss. So there's no clear answer. It's just a matter of taking trades that work for you and your personality. Some people love pending orders, some people don't. I'd much rather take my trade, accept my risk, accept my reward, and walk away than to have a pending order, be unclear if it took, unclear of what it's doing, unsure of if I did my job for today or not. Just so much uncertainty with that. That's why I don't like it, but each to their own.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Let me check. All right, next question. Yeah, Barbara, honestly, I stick mostly to the 4-hour time frame, and I spent the majority of my SuperEZ career, if you will, only with the 1 hour confirmed on the 4. But now having, mostly only because of time constraints, sticking to the 4-hour time frame has made me a very, very happy girl. There's so little noise and problem with this. I mean, I don't mind this pullback. I don't care what it's doing. I don't have to look at my charts all the time. Because, for instance, if I had one take profit set at the ADR and one runner I entered just at the 8 and 18 cross, give or take, with enough confirmations or the break of the 50, enough confirmations because we don't want to take every time it breaks the 50. I mean, that would be just too many inaccurate signals, obviously. But either way, this one move, if I caught, let's say I didn't catch all of it. Let's say I only caught some of it. I caught 50 pips one time and less than 100 pips another time. On a standard, just one single standard, this is $15,000. That's what this is. $15,000 in from the 12th to the 23rd, 24th. Well, 23rd. So 2 weeks, one trade, 15 grand. And a $1,000 account with AFX can hold probably 5 to 6 trades with one standard on them. Well, it can hold more than that, but I wouldn't recommend more than that until you know your accuracy. Just to give you an idea. It's kind of crazy what's possible. All right, next question. Or pair. Let's see. All right, who's going to step up and make sure I'm not talking to myself? Same thing here. They should do a nice pullback. But this is an uptrend. This is definitely trending up. So, who's that?
And just really quick on the AAFX on a standard lot on the Aussie CAD for the day, do they make you pay swap fees?
No, so the way AFX works, there's no swap fees or commissions, no.
Okay. I paid like $38 for standard today. No, I'm sorry. $18.84 per let's see. Well, it was a $1 trade. And I had well, I know they're different between AAFX and CoinX. And so I had like $360 or more in fees today on my swaps. And
what broker?
At CoinX.
Well, what you have to know, and this is one of those really hard lessons that we should just call this episode Lessons 101. Swap fees in general across the board are so much higher on Wednesdays. So when you heard Eduardo talking about how he was killing it, 80-90% accuracy, he stopped taking trades on Wednesday in New York, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was Tuesday afternoon. Well, I'm not sure, but he stopped taking trades at a certain point because he wasn't going to hold them over that Wednesday swap. So at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday afternoon, or 4:40 more accurately, you need to close out the trades you're in, and then you can always get back in them or close the majority of the position because swap fees are usually 300% of what they usually are on a Wednesday. And when you start trading heavier lots like that, most people don't mind it. Like, it's just the cost of business. We shouldn't fuss about it. Every business has fees. That's just one of ours. But when it comes to like some of those really heavier pairs like Euro odd has scary high. It's one of the highest swap fees of all the pairs. And on Wednesdays, it's insane. So like on a standard lot, it's $20, which that means it's 200% of what you put on one lot, right? That's too much.
Well, I'm really glad I asked you about that, because I was in a 20 lot trade, and so I closed it in just a little bit of profit. Just a little while ago while I've been on the call, it came into profit, but I made sure all my fees were covered before I closed it. And I'm glad I asked, because I'm thinking, gosh, if I have to pay that every day, it's going to eat me up. And thank goodness I'm still on my demo, and I am getting ready to put money over there probably tomorrow, so I can be ready next week for live trading, because I'm really getting confident in my trades. But I wanted to ask you about that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Hey guys, in terms of brokers, most of them all have many good things. Some of them have some bad things. It all kind of comes out in the wash if you're asking me. But don't be super afraid of high spread brokers, because typically with the two high spread brokers I do use, it kind of comes out almost dollar for dollar to be pretty close to even. I mean, when we kind of take all the factors in consideration. So it's more scary with the high spread broker, because it messes with the little-minded people, not to be mean, but the simple-minded people. They can't handle starting the trade 4,000 in negative, because when you're using higher lot size, you're going to start a trade in 4,000 in negative. It's insane. It's a lot. It's mentally and emotionally hard. But the thing is, over the course of that trade, so if you had taken this on 40 standard lots, for example, it's got a pretty high spread. Of course, that spread is going to open up tremendously at the market change and sometimes for news. And you held this trade. So this trade cost you X amount of dollars, I mean, in terms of a spread. But it didn't keep costing you swap fees every Wednesday. It didn't keep costing you commission increases however each broker does that. So at the end of it, that one-time fee is what you paid. Now, if you put that same, and I'm not knocking a low spread broker. In fact, those are some of my favorite ones to use for general trading. But like, for instance, if you put a 40 standard lot trade on this same thing on CoinEx, for example, the spread is going to open up enormously for obviously the market open. And with a higher spread broker, the spread doesn't usually open as far because it's already so high. So when it opens, maybe double. But when on a lower spread broker, when that spread opens up, it opens up like 10 times as much as what it was. So that's one of the factors. Another factor is obviously you have the commissions and then the swap fees, which typically, again, it's just the cost of doing business. But when it comes to those Wednesdays and you don't know what you're doing, if you're not in heavy profit, just close that trade on Wednesday and then wait for that little, high spread moment to slow down and re-enter the same trade an hour, into Wednesday evening, New York, or New York Central Mountain, US time. You can enter it again on Wednesday evening. This way you technically would have one of their 7 days to hold that trade with at least reasonable swap fees versus having to pay the Wednesday fees. And again, every broker is different. That's not across the board. Some of them actually pay you for buying or selling certain pairs. But just so you know, there's no super great answer. All of them have different perks, ups and downs. The brokers I use because I have experience with them. I do have one more that's got super, super high leverage, and their withdrawals are supposedly really good. And they have a ton of options, but I want to kind of keep playing with it because they have horrible reviews. I'm talking painfully bad. But again, if it serves my purpose, it serves my purpose. My purpose is not to know it all and to have the best of everything. My purpose is to be able to grow $100 or $1,000 account, turn it into $5,000, $10,000, $50,000, or 6 figures, 7 figures, and then withdraw it. So for some people, they can mentally kind of process that. They can turn a $500 account to a few thousand, withdraw. Turn a $500 account to 10 grand, and then withdraw. Those are all choices. So that's about it. That's all I got to say about that. Let's see.
Jenny, what would you find would be, in your opinion, an amount that you should not have over amount? Like if you've got a broker that you've got, like, say, 25,000 or 50,000, I've heard that they kind of will mess with your account. is it advisable to withdraw your money after a certain level and just keep a certain level in there? What's your advice on that?
That's
Based
a
on
really
your
good
experience.
question. So obviously there's taxes. The biggest thing is taxes. So once you hit over certain amounts and you guys are withdrawing, it's you're running into other things. So when you withdraw anything over $9,000, you're going to get flagged by the IRS. They're going to want to know where that money's coming from. The first time, not so much. The next few times, absolutely. So there's that. And in terms of like, do you trust the broker? All I can tell you, and this is like that process I had to learn, and it doesn't make it right or wrong. I'm just going to help you with how I see things, and we can all kind of grow together. Is if we always operate in fear, we're never going to grow. So to be transparent, I don't trust any broker. Like I worked with LMFX, I had problems withdrawing. I worked with JAFX, they were great, but then all of a sudden the manipulation just got bad, and they quit fixing the charges when their systems went out, and their systems went out a lot. So I would be out a lot of money very quickly. They of course wouldn't fix it. I worked with a couple others. One of them never let me withdraw at all. They are no longer around, but I should have never worked with that one anyways. I knew better. It was really iffy. Having said that, your best bet is to trust your skill. So a lot of people, like I said, don't trust the brokers, so they'll take a $500 or $1,000 account, they'll grow it to that 1 week, and then they withdraw everything other than that first $1,000. Some weeks they'll do really good, some weeks not so good. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with saying this is my weekly wage and this is how I want to run my business. For other people, if you ever want to hit extreme heights, you either have to decide you're going to trust that broker or you're not. Because all the fancy tools in the world, there are quite a few. Hollywood actually has a trade manager, which is a paid for thing, which hides the stop loss and the take profit from the supposed manipulation, which I'm sure is there. I'm sure the market makers are out to get us all. But either way, at the end of the day, we're going to decide if we trust ourselves and we trust these brokers enough. And even if we don't, that's the reason why we have more than one broker. And we have to trust that we have the skill to do it again. So can we control whether or not a broker messes up, or they get sued by the Federal Trade Commission or whatever, or somebody shuts them down and there's a lawsuit? We cannot control that. We can't control if maybe they did cause this one wick because Diana has too much money in her account and they want that money. Is it possible? Yes. But if you're asking me, look, I think the world has much bigger problems than Diana or Jenny having 6 figures, okay? I don't think that they really truly care all that stinking much that we have 50 standard lots on this trade. We're trying to sell it and they wanted to wick us out. And this is a great way to do it. Is that possible? Absolutely. The trade manager that I'm giving away to my coaching clients, which is just free, it's a really basic but simple to use version, also hides the stop loss. I do use it most of the time. But either way, I think that the only answer to that question is it's your personal choice. You have to decide. You'll never hit 6 figures if you don't trust them to hold 25 grand. You'll never hit 7 figures if you can't stomach the idea of having $300,000 in a trading account with people you don't know, have never met, and is overseas somewhere in an account you don't have access to and don't even know exists. It's all become cyber money. So, and a lot of us have lost. So Pat, I don't remember how or when, he lost to over 6 figures in some cyber money deal. I have lost well over 6 figures in cyber money deals. Anybody who's hit high levels of success has lost big amounts of money because we're technically playing in cyber money. You have to decide if it's worth it to you or not. So totally up to you. Maybe withdraw every 2 weeks. Withdraw every 2 weeks until you have your house paid off, or withdraw every 2 weeks until you can buy your mother her house, or whatever your initial goals are. And then you can worry about taking that $1,000 account or that $200 account and growing it to 6 or 7 figures. You can do it that way, and that's what I would suggest, but it's still up to you. So,
Thank you so much.
you are welcome. Does that make sense? Like, we all get so worried about 1,000 things, but then how are we going to grow if we're all over here paranoid?
No, I agree. I just wanted to know your experience. Did you have any, do you feel safe keeping it over in AAFX with the 6 figure? I know I've heard horror stories, and I do want to be able to hold it so I can compound it. So that's why I want to ask.
Yeah, honestly, do I feel super safe with that all the time? Absolutely not. I would be fibbing if I said I did. because again, I didn't come from a whole bunch of money. So the first times you hit huge amounts of money, and all of a sudden you have, like, for example, $27,000 in that account, and you want to touch that money, you want to see that money, you want that money to hit your actual bank account that you can use your debit card on. It's a lot. And have I had brokers flake out? I have. And anybody who says they haven't probably hasn't been trading big lot sizes or big amounts for very long. So it's a stinky thing that happens. But either way, the way I see it is I've grown a skill that I can kind of be happy with. And worst case scenario, because my mother's very old fashioned, to give you an example. So when she first found out, she's like, oh my gosh, you can't leave it in there because anything could happen. I mean, the internet could shut down or that company could take off. And so when I first hit over 300,000 in an account, to be super honest, that was with JAFX. And of course, they started having a lot of problems. And either way, it's all a very scary thing. I had to get over my personal issues. And then, of course, everyone else's voices whispering in my ear, or I would have never been able to keep growing. Because heck yeah, it's scary. It's scary to know that, hey, I turned $500 into 6 figures. I did that, like, by myself. Woohoo, I actually did that. Like, I learned this skill and it's amazing. But if I wanted to keep growing, I gotta stop being worried all the time. So kind of goes with the territory. I feel you though. Yes, ma'am. Okay, I'm gonna check the chat. Any other questions, comments, or pairs? Yeah, Barbara, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Hey, Jenny, can you hear me?
How are you?
Hey, this is David. I'm not sure. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. What I want to ask is about when you're stocking. When you're stocking your trades, do you put all your stop losses at the same place?
Ideally, yes.
Okay, so even as you're moving up, you still keep your stop loss keeps getting further and further away.
No. So, like, for instance, if I took this trade, I move my stop loss up. If I had stacked this trade, so what I would do is I almost always have a trailing stop first off, which automatically moves my stop loss up. And second off, my runner, how do I say this? On one of my trades, I'm going to move my stop loss up. This way, if something happens, and that's usually my bigger trade. So the one that has the heaviest lot size, I want to protect that heavy amount, okay? If I'm in profit on a heavy lot size, let's say, there's 10, 20, 30, 40 standards on one trade, I want to protect that. I don't want 10 standards to go against me by, 50 pips. That's scary. So my heavier lot size, I'm in 10 pips in profit, I'm moving it up. On my other lot size that's only risking like 1% of the account or up to 5% of the account, I'll even let that one just kind of play itself out, whether it hit my stop loss or whether it kept going. I like to let that play out because I use that one for accuracy purposes and for tracking of results. So I find it to be super beneficial.
Okay, so when you stock the trades, you put on all the trades at the same time?
Well, we're on NZD CAD, so let's discuss this specific trade. Let's say I took this triple arrow system. So a fully confirmed trade means whatever indicators I'm using that my eyes see best. Let's see, we've got a crossover. This is crossing over, momentum is facing up. Triple arrows, crossover over 8 and 18. 4-hour and daily, 1, 2, 3. We now have broke the 50. We weren't sure that it was going to wick like that. But over here, it actually broke the 50. So now we've got a super confirmed system. We're breaking this trend line. So if you can imagine a trend line right here, we broke that. So we got maybe 4 confirmations. So now we take this trade, right? It goes almost 20 pips against us, more than 20 pips against us, okay? And now this is going up. If I had entered it this time, I take 2 entries, right? I'm going to put a line here to show you. I took 2 entries right there, or actually on the next candle, typically speaking. But either way, now I have a Stairmaster trade. Let's say I didn't see this trade immediately. Let's take some reality into play because everyone wants to give the best case scenarios, which I don't. I want to give the real life scenarios. So let's just install it here. And to be transparent, we wouldn't know that this is coming. So if I had saw this, I would have also taken that trade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Assuming that these had lined up, I took my first 2 entries here, okay,
Mm-hmm.
on this first line as part of a triple arrow swing trade. Now, these are different trading strategies. But when I go through and check the charts at the times I check the charts each day, let's say I saw this and this and this. Well, let's say I took these. I'm going to take 1 or 2 more trades. Sometimes I'll stack it. Sometimes I'm just taking 1. Typically on these Stairmaster trades, I take half of the ADR, and that's all I do. And my accuracy is scary high with this.
Okay.
So this one, I'm only taking 1 entry. 1 entry. These are Stairmaster. It's a different strategy, though. And then, of course, my stop loss is much tighter. Oopsie, pardon me. Let's see. So, like, my stop loss is much tighter on this one because if I got in at this, it's not as great as I want it, but it's tight enough. I'm definitely not going to make it down here. Same concept here, same concept here. I'm going to take this for one trade, half of the ADR, same direction as the triple arrows on the 4-hour. Scary simple.
So you put your stop losses below the daily dots at that, and in those that you take afterwards.
No, sir. These are 4-hour dots. So
I mean,
on
yeah,
this one,
right.
I would have there's no other resistance. I mean, if I was being conservative, I might put them below this, because this is a crazy wick, and that's not really fair. I mean, odds are I'd put it here, and it matches this previous support. If it breaks these lows anyways, that trade is no longer valid. So I wouldn't be super worried about that wick, but otherwise that wick makes this trade untradeable, at least if you're asking me. So if I put my stop loss here for this first trade, my next stop loss would actually be here for the second entry when I took at a different time, different date. That's my stop loss.
Okay.
Different time, different date. This is my stop loss.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate it.
You are welcome, David. Thank you for hopping on.
All right. Take care.
Let's get this indication on the top right. ADR high and ADR low week. Okay, Justin, that is actually in the notification channel. It's called the bar alert, so go ahead and search for that. Please don't use everyone else's version, because for some reason there's a corrupt version floating around that I can't quite fix. So somehow we got the wrong version out there and somebody couldn't download it. I don't know why. I'm definitely not the expert at that. So I prefer the 8 and 18 and 50. I started using the 8 and 18 again primarily because I'm based off of my phone and my tablet. I just got internet set back up this week. My office, to be transparent, isn't unpacked yet, although most of the house is. So yeah, I like the 8 and 18. I like it, and I like the money tree string. I like them both, but for different purposes. I mean, they're both very accurate. They kind of line up with each other quite well, if you'll notice. But I couldn't create alerts for the money tree string as I could the 8 and 18, and I couldn't manage it the same from my phone because I didn't have access to the same setups. I mean, I could, but not effectively. So. And I always use the 50. Even when I use the money tree string, I still like the 50, just so you know. I hope that answers your question, Camry. Are there any other questions, comments, or pairs? Let's see. I'm going to delete all this. Well, actually, since we have to get on in New York tomorrow morning, and that's the time I actually trade, like for real trade, there are a lot of new US news and European stuff, so kind of don't have as many pairs to go for, but hopefully we have some clean setups. NZD is a good setup for now. You can take it once it breaks or take it totally up to you. Same thing with odd CAD. I'm sure it's going to keep consolidating, but either way, it's still a good trade to trade long term. I mean, it broke this trend line, so just to show you, it broke that. And everything else is lining up, kind of came back up, it's playing around. I expect this to continue to drop. So, and that's really all I needed to see. So, either way, go back to the chat. Hey, Brian, I don't know for sure if it's 35 or not. We're definitely going to be looking toward August. Pat had his birthday last Friday. My birthday is actually next week. And Camry, yes, you can message me, but I'm going to mostly gear toward New York again because we don't have a lot of volatility in Asian session. And it's not wise to place a super high volume trade and then decide to go to sleep. Like, how are most of us going to sleep if our entire account is make or break on that one trade? So this is high risk. It's not fun. I have talked to 2 other people who I want to work with me and kind of be another set of eyes, because I think that the way we see things is contradicting enough to be beneficial, but similar enough to be on the same page or to be agreeable. I don't know if I said that right, but I like the way our personalities work better together too. So I'm hoping that they'll step up and kind of just be another set of eyes for me. I know they've had some success where they're capable of being a leader and they're capable of being and making an influence. Thank you, Dorian. But I'm working on that. So like I said, guys, we have to wait till he gets back from Brazil. He is right now partying it up with his gorgeous wife. I saw some pictures today. They look like they're having a ton of fun. And as for me, I have a pool in my backyard, which is beautiful, and an ocean really nearby, and I'm unpacking. Really need to have somebody else unpack. The moving is fine, but they got to unpack too, because this is all way too much stuff. And class tomorrow morning is at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Although there's news, so we might kind of chat and hang out. 8 a.m. Eastern time is 5 a.m. Pacific time. So anyways, I hope you guys all have a fantastic night. I will get this recorded. We have internet, so it won't take so long this time. I hope you have a fantastic night, and God bless.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thanks, Jenny.
You are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I adore you guys.